Hey guys, this is Ross again, and I'm going to show you guys how to use that popular yaw sound that you hear in dubstep a lot, and even in electro house. So here's kind of what it sounds like. Alright, and here's an example of someone using it. One of my favorite guys, Overwork, in one of his songs. So listen to this.
Take a trip to my
Okay, so that's an example of someone using it, not just in dubstep, but even in electro house or glitch hop or whatever. So it has a lot of uses actually. So I'm going to show you guys how to use it, and there's actually lots of ways to make the yaw sound, or different kinds of yaw sounds, but this is kind of the most common way and kind of the most basic that I feel like everyone should know. And so the first thing you should do is start a new sound, obviously, and all we need basically is we just need one oscillator on, and pretty much almost any of these will work to do this, and they'll all produce some sort of different sounds, so it's good to experiment with bend plus minus formant in conjunction with this yaw sound. Excuse me. And the second thing we need is an insert, turn it on, and sample and hold. And so, why does it always do this? And so what we want to do is we want to turn pitch up all the way and then turn it down just a little bit, and from here you can kind of tweak between the pitch and turn dry wood up all the way, and you can go between the pitch to create a different like pitch yaw sound. And so you also need a low pass filter. Any of these will do, but low pass 4 is a good example, and keep the resonance pretty high up, and watch, just from this you'll hear some yaw going on. And you really want to get low sound, so let's pitch this down -12 to get more effective yaws. It really brings out the sample and hold distortion, because with higher pitches you really won't hear it. So if we pitch it down even more, you can hear even more sampling and holding. And so let's pitch this back up to -12. If we tweak the pitch, this pitch here, tweak it down a little, you can hear how it kind of pitches the yaw down a little bit, like a wider sounding mouth, I guess, or like a, in this case, if we turn the pitch up, a smaller mouth, like the size of it. Let's turn it back down a little. There. And the reason we kept the resonance up is it's essentially the sample and hold is catching the resonant peak from whatever filter you use. So if we turn the resonance down, you won't hear it. You can't hear any yaw sound. So if we turn it back up and turn it up even more. If you turn resonance up too much though, it really destroys the sound, and you can't really hear anything other than like the resonant peak. So it's good to leave it around here, I guess, for like low pass 4. And you can get different sounds from changing the wavetable, so from pure saw to pure square. You can get a bunch of different sounds with different wavetables. One of my favorites is strontium, I think, actually. But yeah, you should experiment with some different wavetables, and on top of that we can have more voices. So turn this to 4 and pan position on, and it makes it more stereo and a little more powerful, I guess. So it's not just kind of mono sound. and we want to be able to hear that yaw sound, so we'll turn the high shelf up quite a bit, maybe around there. And I'm assuming you're gonna lay this with another bass, so you can turn the low shelf down a little, just a little bit. There you go. And so another technique that we can use to make our yaw sounds even more full, kind of like in the song, is we can have more oscillators on and kind of like a power chord like this. If you guys know Porter Robinson's Wildcat, he's got some really full kind of sounding yaw sounds like this. So you can use more than one oscillator to really fill up the sound. And naturally, you don't want to be using two notes at the same time, or it's just gonna sound weird, just like that. So let's just put it on monophonic, legato triller, equal, and turn it up a little bit. And this way, what we can do is we can have some really cool glide going on. Of course, you don't need that. You can just automate it in your DAW, but I like to put it on so that I can hear it before I put in my DAW. And feedback, sometimes, depending on what sound it is, can really enhance the sound. Feedback, I don't know what else to say about it. It's honestly kind of just an experimental thing, just kind of mess around with it. But more often than not, I tend to leave it off, so you don't always have to use that at all. And like I said earlier, you can also do different filters. So the ones that tend to work the best are not high passes or any of these others, but any of the low passes. So like Scream is a particularly good one that I like to use. The only thing you want to watch out for is now, instead of this pitch really having a lot of control over the pitch of your yaw, it's now going to be Scream, which is kind of like the pitch of the resonance. So if we turn this up a little bit, you can hear how it really... There, turn it down for you guys. You can hear how it really changes like the tone of the yaw kind of sound. So it might be kind of cool to mess with that or automate it at the same time, or maybe even LFO, put an LFO on it to make a different sounding yaw. And Daft is a pretty good one, just for if you want a really subtle yaw. To not really, it doesn't completely destroy your sound, but it keeps the yaw in there kind of as like a background kind of thing. And I found that using Teletube more so than the other two tubes can be pretty good for distorting your yaw sounds. Let's put it back on that. It adds a kind of more dirty kind of distortion without ruining the yaw sound. And if you so choose, if you don't choose to make it a stereo sound, you should always put on a dimension expander and mess with the dry wet a little bit, turn the size down all the way, I think, and mess with the dry wet to get to a good point where it's really spreading. So you get a really stereo sound, and it really fills up your mixing space, so it doesn't kind of just sound like it's out in space. Most of the other ones, other than maybe chorus, tend to just kind of dominate the sound and just destroy the yaw, so it's usually not very good to put any of those on. And as far as I've seen for phase, sometimes it can like I said, it can ruin the sound, the yaw sound, because it just distorts it so much to where it's just not even recognizable. So I tend to leave that off with most of my yaw sounds. And I mean, for some of the inserts can add a little more distortion, like Teletube, but you want to make sure you keep it in the background and not dominating your sound, because you want the sample and hold to be driving the whole thing, right? So just put on a macro, and pushing it all the way, the cutoff all the way up, usually just is past the point of the yaw sound, so it's not even worth pushing this up all the way. So I usually like to leave it around here. And one more thing that you can do is if you have multiple voices, just to add a kind of flanging effect into your yaw sound. You have to have more than 2 or 3 voices though, is pitch cutoff, but we want to reset this to 0.00 and push this up 0.01. There we go. It's going to be kind of hard to hear, but you'll be able to hear like a signal that happens when you detune things. It kind of gives it kind of a chorus kind of sound. I mean, you might want it, you might not, but this is the best way to do it when you have multiple voices and if you use up all your effects. For example, you can kind of hear it. It just makes the sound a little more interesting, in my opinion. So if we put all these together, all 3 oscillators on, low pass 4, all these effects, EQ, all that good stuff. You can get some really cool sounding yaws. And is there anything else? Let's label this cutoff. There's some different ways to get yaws that involve even more different methods, like formants. Some wavetables even have yaws built into them, which I guess I might as well just demonstrate while I'm here. Turn that all the way up. I think it's, yeah, AI. It's kind of hard to hear, but makes a different kind of cool sound, yaw sound that if you compound together, it's not using sample and hold. Some of these do have, these different wavetables have their own kind of yaw sound, with the famous modern talking that everyone loves or hates, the yoy sound. And some of these other speech kind of design sounds have their own kind of yaw sounds built in, and ring modulator, I've discovered a couple times, can impose kind of a yaw sound sometimes, but this is the most common way of making it, that you will recognize in a lot of songs. So I just hope that you guys learn something about this from this tutorial, about how to kind of really enhance your yaw sounds and how to make them. So, oh, why does it always do that? I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you liked it, I suggest you guys subscribe, because I'm going to make more, and have fun mixing.